Hello, podcast world, fellow horticulturists, lovers of plants, gardeners, family, and friends. Welcome to Shrubby Buddies, the podcast, friends with woodies for garden goodies. I'm host Matt Guthrie.
And I'm host Tim Fleischer. Coming at you from Central Ohio, Zone 6B. We're just a couple of public horticulturists and certified arborists with experience in education, landscape design, gardening, retail, and wholesale.
So grab a drink, polish your pruners, dust off that kneeling pad, and let's get down to business. Hey, Shrubby Buddies, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I am one of two hosts, Matt Guthrie, and I am joined with Tom Fleischer. Tom, how are you?
I'm good, Matt. Good to see you today.
Good to see you, too. I hope I don't confuse people by calling you Tom there, but that's just what we call you, Tom Fletch.
Alter ego.
That is your alter ego. So we wanted to first and foremost apologize to our listeners. I got a couple text messages.
Did you?
I did, yeah. From people that were very, very sad and let down in the fact that we didn't record an episode last week. Life happens. Things come up. I know Amelia had the U.S. national women's team tryouts last weekend, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of crazy. How old is she? 7, 8 years old?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, she had a soccer tournament.
Okay, so she had a soccer tournament last weekend.
Lots of games.
Yeah. So you're a soccer dad. And I'm sure that some of our or most of our listeners know what that's all about. Plus we did a talk last week for a group of volunteers at a local botanical garden in Columbus, Inniswood Botanical Gardens. And yeah, so we were kind of getting ready for that. We did a talk on extending interest in the garden through fall and into early winter. So really from kind of the end of summer on to the beginning of winter. So fall interest type things.
Yeah, and I think we did great. And a lot of the volunteers over at Inniswood are asking for a copy of the presentation and telling Megan that we did a fantastic job. So that's nice to hear.
Yeah, that's great. They were a good audience.
They were. Lots of questions.
Lots of good questions. And we had fun doing it. We like doing those talks. So, and besides all of that, you also, in the middle of soccer and us trying to prepare for this presentation that we gave, you had something else big going on at your daughter's school. So you want to tell the listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah, my daughter attends one of our elementary schools in the town we're in, and it's an old school with lots of character, but the landscape had no character, and it was just a mixture of things that had been donated over the years and weeds. So, the last year, Megan and I have been working with the PTO to, head a project to get a new landscape installed, and we did just that last weekend. We had mentioned in an earlier episode that Matt helped to procure the plants, and we showed some pictures of our cars filled to the brim with plants, and we got all that planted in about an hour and a half. We had 34 volunteers, 20 adults and 14 kids, and it was fantastic, and it looks fantastic, and we've been watering it every couple days, and we're excited to see it, evolve over the years.
Yeah, that's great. And maybe something that would there be opportunity for any kind of like a learning type lab out of it? I don't know.
I think phase 2 and 3, as we continue to move around the building, there's an area that would be just perfect for an outdoor classroom setting.
Okay, cool.
This was more the frontage of the building and the front side, just to make it more welcoming when the kids, come to school through the front doors.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it. Looks fantastic. I think it's great that you guys did that, donated your time to doing that. And I'm sure that, as it matures, everyone will be happy with the results. I know we picked up a lot of great plants that were used in there. And I'm excited. In the pictures, it looks great. You know how I am. I like freshly planted stuff, but I'm always anxious for that like year 2, year 3 on the planting to see kind of how they're going to mature. So,
and I'm sure they're not listening, but thank you to Amelia's principal and the PTO and all the volunteers that were out that day. We couldn't have done it without the help from all of you.
Well said.
Yeah.
So cool. So that was kind of our week, I suppose, and kind of where we were at last week with this thing. Bob Burby was one of the ones that was texting me and was, giving me a blast of shit about it. And that's fine. That's fine, Bob. I can take it. He did say, though, if there's ever a situation where I can't do it or you can't do it, he's like, I can be your fill-in guy. He's like, I'll do it with you. I'll do it with Tim. You just tell me when and where. So
as long as he doesn't take my job.
Yeah. No one can take Tim's job. Sorry, Bob.
Get out of here.
So this week's episode, we're going to do something a little different. We've done a lot of just real heavy plant-related episodes with lots of facts and all of that good stuff about perennials and trees and shrubs and whatnot. So this week we wanted to do something that was that's going to be a little bit easier of a listen, I suppose.
A little more lighthearted.
And it's going to be more of a kind of an interview sort of thing between Tim and I. So we each decided that we were going to come up with a handful of questions for one another, 3 plant-related questions, and then 2 kind of non-plant related or just kind of not really related to that subject kind of questions, just for the listeners to get to know us a little bit better. So this is all, I wrote my questions down. Tim's got his. I haven't seen his questions. He hasn't seen mine. This is like completely unscripted. And yeah, so this should be fun. I'm anxious to see what it is that he wants to ask me. I know his questions are going to be way better than mine, but that's okay. So Tim, should we get rolling on this interview thing?
Let's get going. So you want me to start?
I want you to start. Yes.
Okay. So Matt,
Tim,
you love plants, you love gardening, and throughout your history of being alive, you've done a lot of things. You've done robotics, you've done horse stuff. I call it horse shit, but that's just me making a pun. You don't have much of a background in your family with gardening. So what has inspired you over the years to love plants as much as you do? And you can't just say, well, they're pretty, because I would venture to guess everybody listening thinks plants are pretty, but you take your obsession and love for plants to another level.
Yeah.
So what inspires you to love plants the way you do?
I think for me, I've always been drawn to nature. Okay. So, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, I wasn't like an indoor kid. I was an outdoor kid, and I was always in the woods,
Back when I was a kid, we didn't have iPads.
Yeah, true that. We had cassette tapes and VHS tapes.
Yeah.
But I do remember we got a Nintendo, though, in the 80s. Anyways, so that just being in nature all the time, the fishing and the hunting and the building forts, just being in and around the trees and the plants, I'm sure that it was imprinting something on me, right? Just being drawn to nature and the outdoors. And then when I was 16 years old, I got a job in a local garden center and did it because my brother was working at the hardware store that it's attached to. And it was like, I was 16 years old. I needed a job. And it was like, in the town at the time, Marysville at the time was a very small town. So there wasn't a lot of places to work. It was kind of like hardware store, Walmart, or fast food. And I love to eat fast food, but I don't really have any interest in working in that industry. So just working in the garden center and learning about plants and how creative you can be with them. And I think that that's really what has inspired me, is just how unique and how there's so many different plants, and there's an endless number of ways that you can use them in creative ways, and create beautiful things. And I like to make people happy, and I like to help people, and creating in public horticulture, creating spaces that bring emotion to somebody, in a good way, I think is super cool. So
quick piggyback to that fantastic history. So when it comes to horticulture, I like to look at it as a blend of science and art.
Mm-hmm.
do you tend to be drawn more to the science of horticulture or the artistic side, or is it a more of an equal
artistic side?
The artistic side?
Yeah, and I have a great appreciation for the science side of it, and I do think it's super neat, but I think generally speaking, I come from a pretty artistic family. You know, my family background, you know, I have a younger brother who's a professional musician. I have a sister that, you know, she's got degrees in art and now works for the university. She's worked at the Smithsonian. You know, my mom growing up, you know, my mom's a musician. She's a singer. So, and then when you start looking at my family, you know, outside of my intermediate family, there's musicians, you know, guitar players, vocalists, like all of this stuff. So I think that just like genetically speaking, I have that kind of art gene, but I just was never really able to apply it in any kind of way because I'm not a musician. I'm not an illustrator, anything like that. So this is kind of my way, I suppose, to use that kind of like artistic, you know, whatever that I have.
Fantastic. So the musicians that are not part of your immediate family, would that be like Arlo Guthrie?
Yeah, Arlo and Woody.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. I wish that would be cool.
Okay, so not related, just to clarify.
Yeah. All right. So, Tim.
Yes, Matt.
So you and I have talked in the podcast in the past about kind of our first love for horticulture being trees, and very tree heavy. So what was it that over the past, let's just say like 10-ish years, what was it that kind of flipped? I don't know if you want to say flip the switch, but kind of flipped in you that really kind of made you go from being this guy that was all about trees with like the ornamental horticulture still a part of your life, but not in the forefront, to now being all about the ornamental gardening, the annuals, the use of perennials and annuals in the landscape, and just kind of the obsession with the flowers and, you know, all of that stuff of perennial borders and things. So what was it that kind of...
Okay, it's a great question, and there's definitely several factors, and I'd say one of those factors is you, Matthew, because there was a time, and I hope this doesn't embarrass you, but when you first started working in Dublin, when we both first started working in Dublin, you made some statement once about how, you know, you love trees and they were the best thing in the world, and
I remember
you don't care about all those little flowers and this and that, and I'll never let you forget it. And we evolve over time. But when you started getting when you get into something, horticulture or not, when you get into something that you love, you go at it 110%, and you started really getting into perennials and, you know, these design styles with the, where we're doing a more naturalistic design, and you started just gushing about some of these plants, and I was like, that's awesome. Like, look at Matt just coming around on these things. And so that kind of inspired me to just get excited with you, right? So I'd say that's definitely one of those things. And then also, like you working in retail, I worked at a retail place when we were saving to buy a home. So I'd go there after my main job. I'd work at a garden center, and I was in shrubs and trees, but whenever I would go over to perennials, I was like, holy cow, there are so many fun options over here. You know, when you work somewhere and you get a discount, and next thing you know, you're buying armfuls of stuff and taking it home, and
it's an addiction.
It's just hard not to just get excited about that stuff. So
yeah, you probably got me blushing over here now.
Yeah, he's turning bright.
Oh, gosh, dang it.
So,
well, thank you, Tim. Yeah, that's a good answer. And you're right. I did make that statement. And I'm sorry to anyone that is just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he would say that. But I do still think that trees are super important. So big trees especially.
They are. And, you know, even our horticulture department where we work in Dublin has evolved over the years. So, you know, when we started on, it was a lot of mulching, spraying, cutting down dead ash, and replacing them with trees. We still do all those things, but we put so much more emphasis on flower beds.
Yeah.
And
100%.
I mean, I've seen such a transformation in some of our parks with the amount of herbaceous material. So
yeah, I love it, dude. Gets me excited thinking about it.
You should see the smile on this guy's face.
All right.
All right, my turn.
Fire away, dude.
All right, let me fire
I'm
away.
ready for this.
I got a good one for you here. So, Matt, are you familiar with the game sometimes people play called Make Love, Marry, or Kill?
Never heard of it.
So, I give you 3 options. Typically, this game, it's people you know.
Okay.
And you have to pick one of them to make love to, one of them to marry, and the other to kill.
Okay.
But this is Plant Edition.
Oh, boy.
So we're going to do 3 rounds of this game. I'm going to do trees, shrubs, and perennials. And I've handpicked 3 in each category for you. And they're all plants that you love very much.
Oh, boy.
So if you were a tree, okay, Matt Guthrie was his own species of tree, which one of these trees would you make love to? Which one would you marry? And which one would you kill? You ready?
Okay.
Tulip tree,
Okay.
bald cypress, and dogwood. Oh, and I need to know why.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a curveball.
So is this one of the curveball questions?
Yeah, this is like my only big curveball. So you get through this one and you're going to be...
Okay, so I'm going to say that I make love to the dogwood. Okay. Because it's more of that like sexy tree, you know. It's got, you know, the really nice flowers in the spring and the super cool fall color. And depending on if you're talking Coosa dogwood or Cornus Florida, like our native dogwood, you know, the Coosa dogwood's got this like sexy bark to it. So I'm going to make love to the dogwood, right?
Okay.
And it's got some pretty cool fruits. I'm going to I'm going to kill the bald cypress.
Okay. And why?
I don't want to kill the bald cypress, but I have to.
Yeah, you have to kill one.
Because I'm going to marry the tulip tree, so I have to kill the bald cypress.
And why do you think the tulip tree would make a good lifetime partner?
Because it's a survivor tree, man. They're big, they're strong, but they still have this like beauty to them. At a young age, the beauty is more visible with the flower, you know, because you can kind of see it from the ground easier. But as it gets older, you know, the beauty is still there, but you know,
like a fine wine.
Yeah, but the beauty, you have to look for it a little bit harder.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't know. I have a real soft spot for tulip trees. I don't know.
I love it. If I were a tree, I think I probably would have answered that the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So now that you got your training wheels,
yeah,
we'll go to shrubs.
Okay.
3 shrubs.
Mm-hmm.
Make love to, marry, kill.
All right.
The blue, what's the blue Fothergilla? Why can't I think of the name?
Is it something shadow?
Blue shadow Fothergilla. Hydrangea corsifolia, oak leaf hydrangea, or gray owl juniper.
I'm going to make love to the Fothergilla.
Oh.
Okay. Because there again, it's just, man, it's sexy.
Okay.
It's got that sexy flower in the spring, and then that just sexy like steel blue foliage, and then the sexy fall color.
Yeah, irresistible.
Yeah, but you know, not that it's an ugly shrub in the wintertime, but it doesn't offer tons of winter interest. I'm going to kill the juniper.
Okay.
As much as I love the gray owl juniper and I love to use it, it is what it is. There's not a whole lot of change to it, you know. 12 months out of the year, it pretty much looks the same, maybe other than a little bit of winter bronzing on it, even though it doesn't do that too much. And I'm going to marry the hydrangea corsifolia because the oak leaf hydrangeas are just, in my opinion, 12 months out of the year are just a real banger. So you have the beautiful emerging foliage in the spring. You have the beautiful flowers in the summertime that kind of, some of them will fade from that white to that real pretty pink. And then it's followed by the beautiful fall color of the oak leaf hydrangea. And then in the wintertime, you're left with the leaves sometimes will hang on for quite some time, but you've got the beautiful kind of copper colored exfoliating bark. So really, it's just something I love 12 months out of the year.
So So, did you mention that the gray owl juniper is also kind of prickly?
I didn't.
Be a good reason not to want to make love to it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure,
you wouldn't want it to puncture your cell walls.
No.
So
don't want to stick my. Never mind.
Yep. And then we'll finish up with perennials.
Okay. Oh, geez.
So Amsonia hubrichtii,
Mm-hmm.
blue star, Echinacea purpurea, coneflower, and Schizocarium, little blue stem. I know these are three of your favorites.
Okay, I'm going to...
This is harder, right?
I'm going to make love to the skizzy, to the little blue stem.
Oh my gosh.
Does that shock you?
It surprises me, but
I don't know where to go with this.
No, I want you to go there.
Okay, so I'm going to make love to the blue stem. I'm going to kill the echinacea.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is so hard because now I'm like, man, I kind of want to make love to a coneflower. I'm gonna marry the Amsonia though.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's soft to touch. It offers interest pretty much year round. And it's just a beautiful plant. I don't know. I just love the Amsonia hubrichtii in cultivars.
If I could boil this down, it's you're marrying the thing that has the most visual impact for the longest time throughout the year. That's
Correct.
What I've noticed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Plus, I think,
Taylor, you're a lucky gal. Says a lot about you.
I'm going to change, and I'm going to make love to the coneflower and kill the blue stem.
Oh, okay.
Because a coneflower is sexy when it's flowering.
That's where I thought you were going to be with that.
It is, yeah.
I know it's hard for you to kill an ornamental grass that you love, but
yeah, and that's why I went that way.
That's how the game goes.
Yeah, dang it. So, okay, dude, that was awesome. You just topped me with that. I don't have anything even remotely close to that.
Get out of here.
But I will throw you a curveball question here. Okay. So, if you had to do it all over again, and horticulture was not an option, horticulture, arboriculture, any of that, what career path would you take?
Oh,
and I think I know the answer to this, but
so none of this is nothing plant related at all.
Nothing plant related, like in the world of horticulture or arboriculture.
I think I would be a fishing boat captain.
God damn it.
Is that not what you were going to say?
No, that's not what I was thinking, but go on. I thought I knew you better than this.
You know, that's funny. I've never really thought about it because this is kind of the direction.
Really?
Yeah, because this is the direction I've kind of been heading since my senior year of high school.
Okay.
And it started with more natural resources, but then I kind of shifted to horticulture.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad for that. But I don't know. I think fishing boat captains are probably like, you don't want to do this. This is just a hard life. But like, I just think of like taking people out on Lake Erie and catching all those walleye. And
okay, so like a walleye boat captain.
Yeah, not on the ocean.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
don't blame you.
Because I don't want to pop off that boat and get swallowed by a shark or something.
No.
Like, and then just hang out at the local spots and talk fishing with people and live by the lake. I don't know.
Okay. But that's not where I thought you were going to go with it, and I was like really anxious for you to say what I thought you were going to say.
Well, here's the thing:
kind of dive into the world of.
I think if I would have known ahead of time, I maybe would have come up with something more thought out. But that just came to my brain.
Okay, fair enough.
So what do you think I was going to say?
Chef.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Come on, dude. Like literally, even at work. At like 8 a.m., you're already planning out what you're going to have for lunch, what you're going to make for dinner, how you're going to do it. You do these. You invited us to this 19-course meal coming up in November that you're putting on.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
dude.
You're right.
Chef. But no, I'm not right because you want to be a shrimp boat captain like Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump.
You're right, but you're not. Like that. The chef life doesn't sound like the cooking food and making people happy sounds fun, but I think I think there's so much more behind that just sucks. Like the late nights and like not having, because we work such a great schedule right now. You know, we work from 6:45 to 3:15, and that's it.
But correct. But
5 days a week.
Fishing boat captains,
I know,
dude. Like you got to drive that damn boat through freaking water spouts.
I know.
And you're up at the ass crack of dawn. You're on the water at 5 a.m.
Fuel's expensive, and you probably never stop smelling like fish guts.
And you got to just always bait hooks.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
but no, I mean, hey, fishing's a blast. So
yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Jimmy Buffett lately, so it's just got me in the mood.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting that you say that. Yeah. So, okay, yeah, I would have thought chef just because if you don't know Tim, he has an obsession for food, good food. He's a total foodie, food junkie, food snob. But everything that I've ever had that you've cooked is just like top notch, out of this world, like restaurant quality food. So
Thank you.
If I was picking a career for you, it would be chef, because you'd be cooking my ass meals all the time.
Oh, I'd be your private chef. That'd be a whole different story.
For sure. So, all right, ask away.
All right, my turn.
Your turn.
Okay, I mentioned earlier that Matt has a lot of hobbies that when he gets into, he goes hard. One of those hobbies is that he likes to go up to Michigan and look for rocks.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people find that kind of boring and it's nerdy, but we're all nerds.
100%.
So what I want you to share with us, Matt, is one of your best rock, is it called rock hounding?
Yeah, I call it rock hounding.
One of your best rock hounding adventures. So whether that's leading up to finding your favorite Petoskey stone that you own, or it's just some shit show of a walk you went down on the beach where something crazy happened or whatever. Just share with us maybe one of your best memories from rock hounding up in Michigan.
Yeah, so probably one of my best rock hounding memories, it happened last fall with my brother Tim. So we had gone up to the cabin for a while, or for like a week or so, and we decided that we were going to go up into the UP of Michigan and do a little camping up outside of the town of Newberry, Michigan, and do Uprolite hunting, which is a rock that has been recently found by a guy in Michigan, and it's a type of sodalite that glows orange under 365 nanometer UV light. So
nerd
alert. So we decided we were going to do that. When I say it glows orange, it looks like it's on fire. Look it up, Uprolites in northern or in the upper peninsula of Michigan. But anyways, so we had gone Uprolite hunting before and found like, you'd find like one or two small ones or whatever. Nothing crazy by any means. But this trip we went out to Crisp Point Lighthouse, which is out in the middle of nowhere. So that was an adventure in its own, getting back to it, because when I say it's in the middle of nowhere, like it's, 10 or 15 miles on just some like backcountry trails in the UP.
And it has to be nighttime, dark.
And it has to be dark. So we got there early enough though that the sun was still up. The sun was just kind of setting as we got to the lighthouse, which the setting's just beautiful. The lighthouse is beautiful. The trees, the water, Lake Superior, like can't say enough good things about the UP of Michigan. But so we got there and like when the sun went down, it was like a new moon, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. And you know how it is when you get into those open spaces where, you're in the UP, we are not anywhere near anything. When I talk about the town of Newberry, it's like a 2, maybe 3 stoplight town. That's the biggest town that we were close to. And we were still 35, 40 miles from Newberry. So we were on Lake Superior. You could see the Milky Way with the naked eye.
You should see the eggplant growing in this guy's pants when he talks about northern Michigan. Holy cannoli.
So that was beautiful. And then we just killed it on the Uprolites, man. It was cool walking down the beach in the middle of night on Lake Superior, like with these black lights, more or less. And just the excitement that I got and that my brother got, and like finding these things, it's like, holy shit, like this is really, really cool. And we found a ton of them.
Were they recently washed up, or was it like just no one had been there in a while, or a little bit of both?
Probably a little bit of both. Beaches definitely get picked over through the summertime. So this was kind of like after that peak summer. But all it takes is a good storm. Lake Superior is nasty too. So a good storm will roll new rocks in. Best time's probably right coming out of winter. because obviously there's not anyone rock hunting up there really much to speak of in the wintertime. But yeah, so that's probably my best rock hounding.
I love it.
Yeah.
You heard the passion in his voice.
Dude, I am a total nerd for rocks. I love looking for them. It's relaxing to me. And you just never know what kind of treasure you're going to find.
Yeah, I love it. I love seeing your treasures, and I love the way you polish them up, so shiny.
Yeah, thank you.
And you don't want to muck with Lake Superior when those November gales come blowing.
No.
You don't.
Absolutely not.
She's nasty.
She is nasty. The Edmund Fitzgerald. All right.
I know that's not the lake, but I'm going to say it.
What, Lake Superior?
Yeah, that's not where she sank, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She sank on...
because she was going up and down. Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually in Canadian water.
Okay.
But the Shipwreck Museum, where the bell of the Edmund Fitzgerald is at Whitefish Point
Okay.
in the UP. So the United States had to get permission to dive to the Edmund Fitzgerald in Canadian water from Ontario. And they removed the bell. And I want to say that Michigan State did the rehabilitation on the bell, but it's on display. They wanted to bring the bell back to Cleveland because most of the workers on the boat were from northern and northeastern Ohio, but the families of those that perished wanted the bell to be as close to the sailors as possible. So Whitefish Point was the closest point in the United States to where the ship sank. So a little history of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Do a whole episode on
Boom.
this.
All right. If you could give one person who's just getting into gardening or a young lad interested in horticulture, like if you could give them one piece of sound advice getting into the world of plants, what would that piece of advice be?
So I think the number one thing, if you want to, you're saying be in the profession, right?
Yeah.
Someone trying to be in the profession.
Yeah, maybe someone that's their senior year in high school and they're like, oh, I might go to school at Ohio State and major in horticulture.
Okay.
For whatever reason, maybe like they think it's interesting, but they don't know a ton about it. What would be like a piece of advice you
get to know the plants. Get to know the plants up and down, side to side. If they're not poisonous, taste them, rub them on yourself, smell them, let them tickle through your hair and your fingers.
Stick them in your eyeballs.
Stick them somewhere.
Okay.
Get to know the plants with all your senses. And the more plants you start to learn, the more you realize, even though two plants might be really different from one another, they share a lot of traits that are the same. And you can really do so much more with a plant palette that is just extensive.
Yeah.
So knowing hundreds of plants versus dozens of plants is such a big difference. So that would be my advice, is really get to know the plants
on like a super intimate level.
Correct. And that other stuff where now how to use the plants together and how a plant might behave during certain parts of the year, that's going to come with time. And, we've talked about how Matt and I's styles have evolved over the years, but get to know the plants first and foremost on a real intimate level. And that will help you go a long way. Yeah.
And a piece of advice that John Greenlee gives is you don't really know a plant until you've at least killed it a couple of times. So I guess adding on to what you said, maybe to that new person getting into horticulture, don't be afraid to kill a plant, because that's part of getting to know them, on that level. You plant it, it dies. Okay, why did it die?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's try it different this way. It's getting them to know them that way. So cool.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my next question is eerily similar to one of the questions you've asked me already, but it's a little different.
Okay.
So I just have in my notes here, dream job. But my question for you is if you threw things out the window, like this is all hypothetical, but what would be your dream job in horticulture at this very moment in your life? And don't worry about you have to move and be further from your family, this and that. Just what position, what location, and what would you do? Like, why does that excite you so much? Because I know you love your job as an assistant horticulturist in Dublin, but it's not, I mean, it's certainly not the pinnacle, right? There's, like, as far as a horticulturist goes, man alive, there are some jobs out there that you'd like, well, that would be really cool to be that person. So what would yours be?
I mean, gosh, horticulturist at Kew Gardens. I mean,
okay, that's
isn't that the pinnacle?
I think that's what I was going to say if you were to ask me that question too. So
I would say, as a public horticulturist, like, that to me would be the pinnacle. The only other thing that was really going through my mind other than horticulturist at Kew would be maybe a horticulturist stateside at like Longwood Gardens or someplace like that, Chanticleer Gardens over in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I don't know. Pete Oldoff's personal assistant. I thought that'd be fun.
Would you want to be like one of the horticulturists that works in a specific area, or would you want to be like I'm not talking about making money, but would you want to be kind of the person who drives the whole bus?
Yeah,
that one.
I want to be the one that's putting the plans together, saying this is the landscape plan, and working with an incredible team in designing it, but being kind of the driving force and behind ultimately the decisions on what's getting planted, how it's getting planted, where it's getting planted, that sort of thing. Like, nothing against the workers that do it all, because it takes a hell of a team to run a show like that, right? But to have the ultimate say and yay or nay on this plant and that plant would be pretty awesome.
And Kew Gardens outside of London, England I've been there in my adult life. I was there on my honeymoon. It was one of our stops, and it is a pretty magical place. And the only thing that would give me pause, that would probably be mine too, but would give me pause is just maybe learning another set of plants that maybe we don't grow here. So stuff that's similar to what we grow here. And I'm getting older. It's harder for me to like learn. Back when I was in college, I was like, my brain was like a sponge, and it's just probably become less spongy.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that stuff, but I wasn't really taking that into factor.
Right.
It was just kind of like, I mean, there's a lot of hangups for me that, like, so many hangups for me that would keep me from going over there. But, but ultimately, like, if you close your eyes and you're 24, 25 years old, and it's like, what's the, the Everest, the summiting Everest of horticulture, that would be nice outs. That would be like, to me, like horticulturist at Kew Gardens.
I love your answer.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
All right. So this one's kind of similar to the love, bang, or kill.
Oh, okay. So you have a similar
question. It's so much more basic and not nearly as fun. Mine was literally, Tim, what's your favorite perennial, tree, and shrub, and why? And when I say favorite, I know that it's such a situational type thing, right? Like, well, is it sun? Is it shade? Is it wet? Is it dry? But favorite as in, what's the one perennial, the one tree, and the one shrub that you find yourself putting in the garden most out of anything? Like if you're laying out a new garden design, like this is something that 9 times out of 10 is going to show up in your plan somewhere.
Okay, I'll start with perennial. Okay. And right now it's spigillias.
Okay.
I really like them because I found that they're doing great in the shade in the sun, and the blooms are just like, they just look tropical, and they're not supposed to be there, but they are. And I just really love spigillias. That's my perennial. And you know that. I tend to use them quite a bit. And they're still kind of hard to find. We're finding them more. Yep. But, I want to see them more when I'm in gardens that I didn't create. I'm like, man, I want to see this. So that is my perennial. My shrubs, we've already talked about, is a Fothergilla. And I love Fothergillas because I think they're from a fantastic plant family that has witch hazel in it. So it's just you just think fall color when you think of this plant family, and the early blooms before leaves. So the blooms are very upfront and personal, and then a nice clean foliage throughout the season. So it's just one of those plants that kind of takes you through the whole season really nicely. So, and they're slow growing and stay kind of small, so they work in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
And then tree is so difficult. Tree's the hard one, in my opinion. Fuck. They're gonna edit out that F word I just said, or no, we're allowed to have that.
Yeah.
Fuck. Because I want to say tulip tree, like we talked about, but then I'm thinking about like umbrella magnolia, and those are freaking awesome. And then I'm thinking of like alley cat redbud, but I think I'm gonna settle on autumn splendor buckeye.
Yeah.
And it's actually a triploid cultivar or triploid species. That's, I don't need to get in the science of it, but it's a hybrid between, one parent is an Ohio buckeye, the other parent is a cross between a red and a yellow buckeye. And what you come up with is Aesculus X arnoldiana, and the cultivar is Autumn Splendor. And this buckeye just has amazing fall color. And buckeyes tend to drop leaves early, and you don't always see their fall color that they could potentially have. But this one I have pictures of it all the way into November, the second week of November, and it's just like the prettiest thing out there. So,
not to mention the flowers.
Yeah, and that's, I'm not even thinking about the flowers, I'm thinking about the fall color. But yeah, it's the blooms are those typically early season buckeye blooms. But the fact that what it does is it takes all the good traits from all three of those parents, and it expresses them throughout the season. So it kind of picks and chooses all the best traits.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
You like that?
I do. Yeah. I'm not
if
shocked by any of this, but
I know we have a lot of Ohio listeners, and they want a buckeye tree in the yard. Get that one, because it will produce nuts, and it will just be more aesthetically pleasing for you.
And I'm here to tell you, you can take the nut off of an Ohio buckeye. You can take the nut off of the autumn, the one you were just talking about. What was the cultivar?
Autumn Splendor.
Yeah, Autumn Splendor. Yeah, I had Autumn Treasure in my mind for like the hot corn bean. Yeah, Autumn Splendor, and then you can take the nut off of the bottle brush buckeye, and they all look the same. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I see where you're going with that.
Like,
yeah.
People are always like, "Oh, it's got to be an Ohio buckeye," and I'm like, "Please tell me the difference."
The nuts all look the same.
They all look the same. You're not gonna tell the difference.
And it has Ohio parentage. 50% of the DNA is Ohio, so that's good enough for me. For the fall color it gets.
Hell yeah!
All right, I know. We are probably.
We're getting a little long on time, but
I have one more question, and it's actually a pretty quick one.
And I have one more question for you. So we're gonna do this. All right?
Perfect. Let's do it. And mine should be fairly short and sweet. Matt, I know you and I both really enjoy music. We like listening to music. We have similar music styles, right?
Okay.
And my question for you is, if you could see a band, any band, live today that you can't actually see, so that either they've broken up or some key person of the band has passed away, so the band doesn't exist anymore, but if you could just bring them back and see them, which band would you want to see, and what are one or two or three of the songs that they would have to play? And I know this one's a tough one, because it's probably not, I can't think of anybody. It's probably like, which one do I choose?
Which one do I choose, for sure? So I'm probably going to go with the Grateful Dead with Jerry Garcia.
Okay.
There's a lot of different bands that race through my head there. I would say probably Grateful Dead with Jerry Garcia. And obviously we can't see that because Jerry Garcia is dead. I've seen The Dead. And you can see Dead and Friends with John Mayer, but not Jerry. So for me, man, their song catalog, in my opinion, is from top to bottom and is like A-list. But I would say probably, maybe like Terrapin Station.
Okay.
I love a good long jam. And I'm into jam band stuff. So maybe like Terrapin Station. Scarlet Begonias and Sugar Magnolias.
Okay.
I don't know, two of my favorite songs.
Yeah,
so.
we actually wanted to have one of those songs be our intro music, but we realized real quick that they would cease and desist. We'd get fined, probably go to jail because of copyright. So we had to pick something a little more generic. But I knew you'd say those two. What about Uncle John's Band? That's one of my favorites. Or Ripple.
There's so many. I mean, like I said, you can just look through there and it's like, oh shit, that one. Oh
that one too.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that would be it for me for sure.
Good.
So, and it's so funny that you asked me a music related question because I saved a music related question for you. Yeah, I swear,
folks, this is unscripted, raw.
So, here's my question to you. So, listening to music and collecting vinyl is a large part of your extracurriculars and a way for you to kind of unwind, right? And so, who were some of the musical talents that you would say shaped you at a young age that have played a role in what your playlists of today are? Also, give us your current top 5 listens for people to check out. So it's kind of a two-parter. But so growing up, who were your musical influences that have made you who you are today? And then your current, like top 3 or 5.
Like bands.
Yeah.
Current.
Current 3 or 5 that you're digging on right now.
Love the question.
Yeah.
Love it. And I love that we both had music questions saved for last.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. The music that shaped me comes from my parents and specifically my mom. Her and I would listen to music a lot together. She had one of those tape players that kind of hangs under the cabinets in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would hang out in the kitchen a lot and listen to music. And so it's Billy Joel is like probably number 1.
100%.
We used to go to a lot of Billy Joel concerts when I was a kid. But other kind of bands in that same setting with my mom would be like America.
Okay.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and some Neil Young. I know we listen to a lot of Neil Diamond too, but I don't listen to as much Neil Diamond now as I used to. So those would be some of those bands. More from my dad, I would say The Doors and The Who would be. So stuff that's a little less folky and a little more rocky.
Yeah.
And so I've always just loved classic rock and like classic folk.
Yeah. And I would say that I definitely noticed the classic folk the most out of you. So
yeah, absolutely.
That makes total sense.
Some of that heavier stuff, and I say heavy, and it's probably not that heavy to some people, but I'm like always in the mood for the more mellow Americana folky stuff. Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Paul Simon, just that kind of stuff. Nowadays, I would say if I'm getting on my Spotify to listen to music right now, I would say some of my tops are Gregory Alan Isakov.
Yep.
He's an American folk artist, Americana type music, just super mellow, some little twangy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a horticulturist. Like it all's just like perfect.
I love
it's
it.
Just such relaxing music, and it's awesome on like being inside on a cold winter night, and then it's awesome like enjoying a beautiful day outside or driving your car. It's like listen to anytime music. It feels good. Another one would be Fleet Foxes, which is indie. It has some overlap with that Gregory stuff, but then it gets a little more different in a lot of ways. It's hard to explain, right?
Yeah.
But it's that's definitely one of my favorite bands that I just can't stop listening to over the last couple years. And man, just a classic for me is Outkast. Like when
I was waiting for some hip hop, but
because those ones I mentioned can be on the more mellow side. Decemberists could fit into that category. Guster, but if I really want to get kind of tuned up a little bit, Outkast is just
when Megan's out of town on a Friday night, you're 6 IPAs deep.
Yep,
you're blasted. Put that
put that Aquemini on the record player.
I love it
and vibrate the house. But
I love it.
Outkast is arguably the best hip hop duo in all of creation, and some of you may disagree, but it's just fact. So
I've listened to you and my brother have these discussions before, and I love it. So yeah, that's fantastic, man.
Yeah,
I love it.
Good stuff.
Cool deal. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was fun. I hope that you as the listeners enjoyed it. But yeah, so if you ever have any questions for any of us, either of us, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, that was a fun episode.
Yeah.
If you have any feedback on that, like you want more of that or less of that, or you take issue with anything we said, or, you know, you have something in common, reach out. We'd love to hear from all of you, whether it's...
If you want to dispute the Outcast, Outcast being the greatest hip hop in the world ever, feel free to reach out.
We love to hear from you. So email, Instagram, Facebook, you know, you can reach us in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. So cool. Well, I guess that does it for this week.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Rock on.
Rock on with your cock on, Mike.
Mike.
So yeah, until next week, listeners, thank you. I hope you all have a wonderful week, or having a wonderful week. Wait, yeah, so we're recording this on Sunday, so they're going to hear it on Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Yeah.
I hope that your week's going good so far, and I hope that it continues to go
I
well.
hope you're enjoying October, because October comes and goes, and then the best month of the year doesn't come again for another 12 months.
That's right.
So,
although November's pretty solid, too.
November's solid, but October's better.
Yeah.
I'm just... Another fact. Just dropping them.
Scientifically proven.
Correct.
So, all right, peeps. Thanks again. I'm Matt.
I'm Tim.
And love you harder.
+2.
We out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.